A shocking turn of events has taken the reality TV world by storm. Kirk Frost and Young Jock, two stars we thought would always have each other's backs, have completely torn apart their friendship. This was never supposed to happen, but the tension between the two has finally boiled over in the most explosive way imaginable. What started as a small disagreement has escalated into a full-blown fight that has left fans and the entertainment industry speechless. It all went down at an industry event, where what was supposed to be a simple conversation turned into a heated argument. Words were exchanged, insults were thrown, and before anyone knew it, the two were physically going at it. But what led to this shocking fight? And what does it mean for their futures, both personally and professionally? Fans are still reeling from the news, with social media buzzing non-stop about the fallout. Is this the end of an iconic friendship? How did things get so bad between Kirk Frost and Young Jock? The truth behind this scandal is more complicated than it seems, and we're about to dive into the explosive details. You won't believe what happened next. Kirk Frost and Young Jock have been two of the most prominent faces in the world of reality TV for years. Their friendship has been the kind of bond that fans admired, untouchable, built on mutual respect and countless shared experiences. But what started as a small misunderstanding on set has now spiraled into a massive scandal that has shocked the entire entertainment industry. It all began on a normal day, during a filming break at an event that was meant to be a fun, lighthearted gathering. Nobody could have predicted the chaos that was about to unfold. The trouble started when Kirk Frost, who had been dealing with mounting pressure from both his personal life and career, began to show signs of frustration. He had recently been facing a lot of negative media attention, some of it fueled by his public relationship with Rashida, and some stemming from the ongoing drama surrounding his professional life. Meanwhile, Young Jock, known for his charismatic yet occasionally impulsive personality, had been vocal about his own struggles in the industry. A comment Jock made in passing quickly escalated the tension between the two men. According to eyewitnesses, Jock made a remark about Kirk's recent career choices, questioning his decision to continue pursuing reality TV instead of focusing on more traditional opportunities. This comment, although seemingly harmless to outsiders, touched a nerve with Kirk. He had been struggling with his own doubts, and Jock's words seemed to hit him harder than expected. What followed was a tense exchange of words, with Kirk accusing Jock of trying to undermine him. Jock, feeling attacked, didn't back down. The argument intensified, both men trading insults, and the situation quickly got out of hand. At first, no one thought the disagreement would escalate into physical violence. But with both men's tempers flaring, it was clear that the situation was rapidly spiraling. What started as a verbal altercation soon turned into a full-blown confrontation, and before anyone could intervene, the two stars were at each other's throats. The cameras, which had been recording everything, captured the shocking moment when Kirk shoved Jock, pushing him into a table nearby. The crowd around them gasped, some even stepping back in disbelief. It was as if everything they had known about their friendship was unraveling in an instant. The fight continued, with both men throwing punches, their anger overpowering any sense of reason. Security rushed in to break them up, but the damage had already been done. The moment the altercation ended, it was clear that things between Kirk and Jock would never be the same again. Fans who had long admired their bond were left stunned, questioning how two friends could go from laughing and joking together on screen to throwing punches off screen. But the drama didn't stop there. What was even more shocking was the aftermath. The aftermath that would take the whole situation to a level no one could have predicted. In the days that followed, rumors began to spread like wildfire. Speculations about what had led to the fight filled the media, with some insiders claiming that it wasn't just a simple disagreement over career choices. According to sources close to the two men, there had been underlying tension for months. Tension that had been simmering beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to explode. Some suggested that the fight had been brewing for much longer than anyone realized, pointing to incidents that had occurred during previous filming sessions. Others claimed that personal issues, particularly with their families, were adding to the strain. One of the most explosive rumors to surface involved the secret deal that Kirk was allegedly involved in, which he had kept hidden from his friends, including Jock. The deal, which some sources described as a game changer for Kirk's career, was said to be the final straw in their deteriorating relationship. Allegedly, Jock had discovered Kirk's secret deal and felt betrayed by his longtime friend for not sharing such important news with him. The trust between them, already fragile, had now completely shattered. Meanwhile, Kirk was furious about how the fight had been portrayed in the media. He took to social media, posting a cryptic message that read, "Some people can't handle success, and they'll do anything to tear you down when you're on top." Fans immediately speculated that the post was directed at Jock. In response, Jock didn't stay silent for long. He posted a video of himself, clearly upset, calling out Kirk for his actions and revealing his true feelings about their friendship. "I've always been there for him, but that fight wasn't just about the career stuff. There's more to it, and Kirk knows that," Jock said, his voice filled with emotion. "He chose his ego over our friendship, and that's something I can't forgive." This public feud only added fuel to the fire. Fans of both men were torn between the two sides, with some defending Kirk, saying that he was under a lot of stress and didn't deserve to be treated like this. Others took Jock's side, claiming that Kirk had let his success go to his head and forgotten the people who had been there for him from the start. The division among fans was clear, with passionate arguments breaking out on social media. But the drama didn't end there. Behind the scenes, family members were also deeply affected by the fallout. Rashida, Kirk's wife, was reportedly devastated by the fight, not just because of the damage to Kirk's friendship with Jock, but because of the way it had escalated. She had always tried to keep Kirk grounded, but she knew that the pressures of fame and constant scrutiny were taking their toll on him. And now, this public spectacle was threatening to ruin everything they had worked for. Meanwhile, Jock's family also had mixed reactions. His close friends and relatives were disappointed in how things had unfolded, with some feeling that Jock had been too quick to respond publicly instead of dealing with the issue privately. As the situation continued to unfold, both Kirk and Jock tried to salvage what was left of their public images. They gave interviews and appeared on talk shows, attempting to explain their side of the story. But no matter what they said, the damage had already been done. The trust that had once existed between them was gone, and no amount of explanation could undo the hurt that had been caused. As the weeks passed, it became clear that Kirk and Jock's friendship had been irreparably damaged. They no longer appeared together in public, and their interactions on social media became few and far between. What was once a deep, genuine bond had turned into nothing more than a bitter rivalry, and fans were left questioning whether these two reality TV stars would ever be able to repair what they had lost. The aftermath of the fight continued to dominate headlines, with more and more details about their personal lives coming. As the media frenzy surrounding the Kirk Frost and young Jock fight continued to spiral, the tension between the two reality stars reached new heights. Fans who had once looked up to the duo as a symbol of unbreakable friendship were now left questioning everything they thought they knew. Behind the headlines, the personal lives of both men were unraveling in ways no one could have predicted. The impact of their public fallout wasn't just confined to their professional lives. It had begun to affect their families, their careers, and their reputations in ways that seemed irreversible. In the days following the explosive fight, both Kirk and Jock attempted to salvage what little they could of their image. However, their efforts were overshadowed by the growing speculation about the true cause of their falling out. While the media had initially pointed to career-related tensions, whispers of deeper, more personal conflicts began to surface. It soon became clear that the fight was the culmination of years of simmering resentment and unspoken grudges between the two. As the gossip mill churned, one insider close to both men revealed some shocking details that had never been publicly known before. According to this source, Kirk and Jock had been on a rocky path for quite some time, but their issues went beyond professional jealousy or career differences. The root of the tension lay in their personal lives, specifically in the way they viewed each other's relationships. While Kirk had been busy dealing with the ups and downs of his marriage to Rashida, Jock was struggling with his own relationship issues, and it was these personal matters that had increasingly driven a wedge between them. One key moment that seemed to trigger the fight was an argument the two had months earlier over the role of women in their lives. While Jock had always been outspoken about his relationships, often flaunting his connections with various women in the public eye, Kirk had become more private and protective of his family. The difference in their views became a point of contention, especially when Jock made a remark about how Kirk was too controlled by Rashida. Kirk, who had always tried to keep his family life intact despite the pressures of fame, took offense to the comment. It was a jab at his commitment to his wife, and it cut deeper than Jock probably realized. But it wasn't just the comment that stung. There had been a long-standing rivalry between the two men that neither had ever openly acknowledged. The competition, however subtle it may have been, had always been there. Both Kirk and Jock had risen to fame in the same industry, but while Kirk had made his mark through reality TV and his family storyline, Jock's career had been more music-centered. This subtle competition had played a role in their friendship, with each man trying to outdo the other in various ways. It wasn't just about success, it was about ego, and once that ego was bruised, there was no turning back. As rumors of this deeper rift spread, fans began to question who was really at fault for the fight. Was it Kirk's fragile ego, unable to take a joke from his friend? Or was it Jock's ongoing need for validation that pushed Kirk over the edge? The truth, as it often is in these situations, was somewhere in between. Both men had contributed to the breakdown of their friendship, but it was the accumulation of years of unresolved issues that led to the final explosion. The situation took another dramatic turn when both Kirk and Jock started making public statements about the fight, but neither was willing to take full responsibility for their actions. In interviews, Kirk repeatedly downplayed the physical altercation, calling it a momentary lapse in judgment, and insisting that their friendship had been damaged by external pressures that neither of them could control. He claimed that the constant media scrutiny had put undue strain on their relationship, and he felt that Jock had not been supportive enough during his recent struggles. Jock, on the other hand, was much more outspoken. In a series of social media posts and interviews, he blasted Kirk for what he saw as a betrayal of their friendship. "I've been there for Kirk through thick and thin. I never expected him to turn on me like this," Jock said, his voice filled with anger and disappointment. He made it clear that he felt Kirk had distanced himself from him over time, focusing more on his family and career than on their friendship. "He thinks he's above everyone now, and that's the problem," Jock continued. He forgot who was there for him before the cameras started rolling. The divide between the two was growing wider by the day, and their fans were left to pick sides. Some took Kirk's side, believing that he was simply trying to protect his family and career from the relentless pressure of fame. Others sided with Jock, feeling that Kirk had abandoned their friendship in favor of his own ego. But the real twist came when both men's families were forced to get involved. Rashida, Kirk's wife, was reportedly devastated by the fallout. She had always been the glue that held Kirk together, supporting him through both his career highs and personal lows. But now, she found herself caught in the middle of a very public dispute between her husband and his best friend. While she had always been supportive of Kirk's career choices, she couldn't ignore the toll that the tension with Jock was taking on him. In private, Rashida was said to be heartbroken by the way things had played out. She had tried to convince Kirk to reach out to Jock and repair their friendship, but Kirk was adamant that he had nothing to apologize for. On the other side, Jock's family also had strong opinions on the situation. His close friends and relatives were upset by Kirk's behavior, with some accusing him of being too sensitive and unable to handle the truth. Jock's supporters rallied behind him, urging him to move on from the toxic relationship and focus on his own success. But there were also murmurs of regret within Jock's camp, with some wondering if the public feud had gone too far. Could their friendship ever be repaired, or had they crossed a line that could never be undone? While the drama continued to unfold, the impact on both Kirk and Jock's careers became evident. Their once strong fan bases were now divided. and the public's perception of both men had shifted. The fight had done more than just damage their relationship. It had damaged their brand, and both were now left to pick up the pieces. The true effects of the fallout were only beginning to show. Behind the scenes, both Kirk and Jock were struggling with the weight of their actions, wondering if the fight had permanently destroyed their professional futures. What had once seemed like a minor disagreement had now become a defining moment in their careers and their lives. Neither man could predict where this path would take them, but one thing was clear: the bond they had shared was gone, and things would never be the same again. As the public's fascination with the fight between Kirk Frost and young Jock grew, the drama took an even darker turn. The media buzz had reached a fever pitch, with every gossip outlet and social media platform buzzing with updates on the fallout between the two men. Fans, influencers, and even celebrities weighed in on the situation, adding fuel to the already blazing fire. But while the drama seemed to be providing endless content for tabloids and social media, Kirk and Jock were both struggling in ways no one truly understood. Behind closed doors, the toll the fight had taken on both men's mental health was becoming clearer. Despite their tough exteriors, both were quietly wrestling with feelings of betrayal, confusion, and isolation. The pressure of living their lives under constant public scrutiny had finally caught up with them, and neither Kirk nor Jock seemed prepared for the consequences. For Kirk, the fallout was personal. He had built his career on being a family man, someone who prioritized his wife and children above everything else. Yet, in the aftermath of the fight with Jock, he found himself questioning everything. Was his loyalty to his family the right choice, or had it caused irreparable damage to his friendships? His marriage to Rashida was solid, but the strain caused by the public feud with Jock was undeniable. Rashida had been a pillar of support throughout Kirk's career, but even she couldn't shield him from the emotional toll that the breakdown of his friendship had caused. Behind closed doors, their conversations had become strained, and Kirk found himself retreating further into himself. Rashida, always the one to stand by Kirk through thick and thin, had hoped that the fight would eventually blow over. But as the days turned into weeks, she grew more concerned about how her husband was coping. He seemed distant, withdrawn, and less focused on the things that used to matter to him. In private moments, Kirk admitted that he was having trouble moving past the fight. He questioned whether he had made the right decision in choosing his family over Jock, or if their years of friendship had been worth more than anything else. He even expressed doubt about whether he could ever truly repair the damage done to his reputation. But Kirk wasn't the only one struggling. Young Jock, too, was wrestling with his own emotions. While he had projected a sense of confidence and strength to the public, behind the scenes, he was dealing with the aftermath of the fight in his own way. He had always prided himself on his ability to handle drama, both in his career and personal life. But this time was different. The fallout with Kirk was unlike anything he had ever experienced before. Not only had he lost a close friend, but his public persona had also taken a hit. In the weeks following the fight, Jock was seen attempting to reassert himself in the media. He posted a series of cryptic messages on social media, speaking about personal growth, moving on, and learning from difficult experiences. But his posts seemed to come across as a desperate attempt to save face. His fans, once supportive, were now divided, with many questioning whether he was being too defensive about the situation. Behind the public display, Jock's frustration grew. He felt that Kirk was playing the victim, refusing to acknowledge his own role in the breakdown of their friendship. According to Jock's camp, Kirk's tendency to isolate himself from his friends and focus solely on his family was a source of tension for years. He believed that Kirk's desire for control had ultimately led to the explosive fight, and he felt betrayed by Kirk's refusal to take accountability for his part in the situation. But as the days passed, it became clear that the fight was doing more than just damaging their friendship. The public perception of both Kirk and Jock was shifting, and fans were starting to question their true motivations. The question on everyone's mind was whether the rift between the two men could ever be mended, or if the damage was permanent. In an unexpected twist, both Kirk and Jock began to hint at the possibility of reconciliation. At first, the idea seemed laughable. How could two men who had publicly torn each other apart ever find a way to rebuild their broken relationship? Yet, in private conversations with their close friends and family, both men expressed a desire to move forward and find some sort of resolution. They both knew that the feud had hurt them more than it had helped, and they didn't want to let it define the rest of their lives. However, the path to reconciliation wasn't as easy as it seemed. While both men were open to the idea of making amends, the lingering resentment and hurt feelings were impossible to ignore. The damage done to their friendship had gone too deep. In an emotional moment, Kirk admitted to his close circle that he felt as though he had been betrayed by someone he had considered a brother. He couldn't understand how the person he had trusted the most could turn on him so easily. Similarly, Jock revealed to his friends that he had always viewed Kirk as a source of support, but the fight had shattered that illusion. He felt abandoned and blindsided by Kirk's actions. The media, of course, was feeding off of the tension, speculating about whether the two men would ever reconcile. Some outlets claimed that Kirk and Jock were secretly meeting behind closed doors to work through their issues, while others believed that the rift was too deep to repair. Fans were torn, with some desperately hoping for a reunion and others urging both men to move on and focus on their individual careers. The public's obsession with their feud continued to fuel the narrative, and it became increasingly clear that neither Kirk nor Jock could escape the fallout. As the months passed, both men found themselves navigating the fallout in very different ways. While Kirk remained more focused on his family and his relationship with Rashida, Jock threw himself back into his music career, attempting to regain the momentum he had lost due to the public drama. However, both men were haunted by the consequences of their actions. Whether they would ever fully recover from the damage to their friendship and public image remained uncertain. In the end, it seemed that Kirk and Jock's fallout had become a cautionary tale for other celebrities, a reminder of how fragile relationships could be when fame and egos collided. The question still lingered. Could they ever repair the damage done, or was their friendship truly destroyed forever? As time continued to pass, the public's fascination with Kirk Frost and young Jock's feud remained ever-present. The media kept churning out new rumors, adding fuel to the fire that had burned their friendship to the ground. Fans, too, remained divided, with some supporting Kirk's decision to put family first, while others stood by Jock, urging him to fight for the bond they once shared. The more the drama played out, the more it became clear. This wasn't just a feud between two celebrities. It had become a symbol of how fame, pride, and egos could destroy even the closest of friendships. However, just when it seemed like the tension between Kirk and Jock couldn't get any more intense, a shocking development occurred. Sources close to both men began to hint at an explosive twist that no one saw coming. A public appearance, a secret meeting, or even a joint statement was rumored to be in the works, something that would either bring the two men back together or completely solidify their break from one another. Fans and the media eagerly awaited the news, constantly checking their phones, hoping for any update that would indicate a resolution. But as the days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the possibility of reconciliation seemed to fade. Every time one of them was spotted in public, the tension was palpable. Kirk, often accompanied by his wife Rashida, seemed determined to show that he had moved on and was focused on his family. However, the sadness in his eyes couldn't be ignored. The toll the fight had taken on him was visible in the way he carried himself, the way he spoke about the fallout. He had become more reserved, less willing to engage with the public or media. Young Jock, on the other hand, had doubled down on his career, using the controversy to fuel his music. Yet, his music career didn't seem to be the solace he had hoped it would be. While his fans were still supportive, it was evident that the personal loss he felt was still eating at him. His social media posts grew more cryptic, filled with references to betrayal and lost friendships, further hinting at the emotional toll the feud had on him. Deep down, Jock knew that the fight with Kirk wasn't just a professional setback, it was a personal tragedy. At this point, both men had come to realize that they had lost something far more significant than just a friendship. The emotional scars ran deeper than they had anticipated. The public fallout, the backlash from their fans, and the constant rumors had taken a toll on both of them. What was once a bond based on trust and respect had now turned into an irreparable fracture, and no matter how hard they tried to move forward, the damage seemed impossible to undo. Meanwhile, fans were becoming more vocal about the feud, with some taking sides, while others expressed their frustration with the lack of resolution. It seemed like everyone was waiting for Kirk and Jock to make the first move, yet neither man seemed ready to face the reality of their broken relationship. As the months dragged on, the speculation about their future only intensified. Could they ever repair the friendship? Would time heal the wounds, or had too much been said and done for them to ever reconcile? The question lingered, and it seemed that no one had an answer. However, one thing was clear: the drama surrounding their fallout had cemented its place in the public's memory. It was no longer just about Kirk Frost and young Jock. It had become a story that people would talk about for years to come, a tale of fame, ego, and the painful consequences of falling out with someone you once called a brother. For Kirk, the emotional toll was especially heavy. He had tried to focus on his family and his work, but the weight of the fight continued to drag him down. There were days when he wondered if he would ever be able to repair the relationship with Jock, or if he would always carry the regret of losing such a significant bond. His family, particularly Rashida, continued to support him, but even she knew that Kirk hadn't truly moved on. The pain of losing Jock was something that haunted him every day. Jock, too, struggled with the idea of forgiveness. Despite his efforts to move forward, he couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal that lingered in his heart. The fight with Kirk had shattered his sense of security, leaving him questioning not just his friendship with Kirk, but his entire understanding of loyalty and trust. As much as he wanted to let go of the anger, the hurt, and the pride, he found himself stuck in a cycle of bitterness that he couldn't break. The public, of course, had their own theories about how things would end. Some fans believed that the two men would eventually reunite, citing the long history of their friendship and the bond they once shared. Others thought that the damage had been done beyond repair, and that Kirk and Jock were simply too different to ever find common ground again. Whatever the outcome, it was clear that their feud had impacted not just their lives, but the lives of their fans as well. In the end, the story of Kirk Frost and young Jock's falling out was a reminder of the complex nature of fame and relationships. It wasn't just about the fights, the drama, or the public spectacle. It was about the emotional cost of living your life under constant scrutiny. For both men, their friendship had been a casualty of their own egos, their ambitions, and the pressures that came with being in the spotlight. Whether they would ever find a way to mend their broken bond, or if their feud would remain a permanent fixture in their careers, was a question that no one could answer. But one thing was certain: the drama wasn't over, and the world would continue to watch as Kirk and Jock navigated the aftermath of their shattered friendship. The drama between Kirk Frost and young Jock has shocked the world, leaving fans divided and wondering if there's any chance of reconciliation. With so much at stake, it's clear this feud isn't over yet. What do you think? Will Kirk and Jock ever repair their friendship? Or is this the end for good? We want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let us know which side you're on. Do you think they'll make up? Or is this fight the one that truly destroys their bond forever? Make sure to hit that like button if you're following this shocking saga, and subscribe for more exclusive updates on Kirk, Jock, and all your favorite stars. Don't miss out on what comes next. There's always more to the story, and we'll keep you in the loop with all the latest developments. Stay tuned, because the drama is far from over.